Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets. We've got a stack of sources today that paints a picture of, well, extreme technological ambition, kind of fighting head-on with some unexpected technical fragility. We're going to pull out the nuggets you need to know, from monster chips and AI wars, all the way to a global internet sneeze that cost billions.
It really is a study in contrasts, isn't it? We see companies achieving these stunning feats like, designing chips with seemingly limitless performance, but then those same companies stumble over basic issues, whether it's a faulty battery contactor in a premium EV or the stunning realization that maybe half the internet relies on a single geographic location staying online. We're here to help you navigate that tension.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting where, well, a lot of modern power begins.
Yeah.
Apple Silicon. The benchmarks for the M5 chip, specifically in the anticipated MacBook Pro lineup, are pretty jaw-dropping. We knew M-series chips were fast, but the M5 is officially being called a monster.
That phrase is absolutely warranted,
Yeah.
yeah. The sources confirm that the M5 is delivering performance bumps of up to 15% faster than the M4 generation, which is substantial. But here's the real sign of Apple Silicon dominance: the base M5 chip. It's posting single-core Geekbench scores that are only surpassed by the much, much pricier M4 Pro and M3 Max chips.
Wow.
It means the entry-level professional machine is essentially getting top-tier performance from like 2 generations ago.
So why does the everyday user really need this incredible 15% boost? I mean, if the M4 was already plenty fast, is this just marketing hype?
Well, it's not just marketing. I think it's more anticipatory design. While maybe a standard user might not feel that speed bump today, Apple is betting heavily on spatial computing, right? And generative AI integrated deeply into the OS.
Oh, okay.
Those multimodal AI tasks generating complex images, processing massive spatial data streams from the headset, real-time video editing, those things are computational hogs. This chip speed is really foundational. It's needed to support the AI infrastructure Apple is clearly building towards.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of spatial computing, let's turn that M5 performance toward your face. The new Apple Vision Pro M5 headset. This seems to be where the narrative hits its first speed bump. They added the fast chip, but it didn't really solve the core problems, did it?
Not really, no. It's very much an iterative upgrade, and it's for the same daunting price tag of, what, $3,499?
Still that high.
So while you do get that faster M5 chip and, crucially they say, a comfier dual-knit band, which addresses some serious wearability complaints from the first gen, the device is still kind of struggling with ecosystem maturity.
What's the biggest deterrent then? Is it still just that high barrier to entry, the price?
That's definitely a major part, yeah.
Yeah.
But even for consumers who could afford it, the lack of crucial apps is, well, it's baffling at this point. We are still missing high-profile, must-have experiences like native Netflix and YouTube apps.
Really? Still?
Still. And even with the M5, there's no major overhaul of the core functionality, meaning you still have to deal with that external battery pack you have to schlep around.
Ugh.
Which is a big turnoff for something intended for daily or, extended use. It still feels more like a really powerful developer kit, not quite a mainstream consumer product yet.
Okay. So, from the cutting edge of silicon, let's pivot to something almost mundane sounding, but a surprisingly common physical failure. If you invested in the cosmic orange iPhone 17 Pro, you might have noticed something, well, rosy about its color recently. This is the curious case of the pink phone.
It sounds almost frivolous, doesn't it? A pink phone. But it's actually a great little lesson in material science. Users are reporting that the vibrant cosmic orange anodized aluminum chassis is fading or changing color to a sort of metallic pink.
Right. I initially thought this must be just a manufacturing defect, like in the paint or the dye they use.
Not exactly, it seems. So anodized aluminum gets its color through an artificial oxide layer created on the metal surface. That layer is surprisingly thin and porous, and our sources indicate the discoloration is likely caused by that oxide layer interacting with peroxide-based cleaning agents.
Oh, right, because so many common household disinfectants and wipes contain things like hydrogen peroxide or even bleach sometimes.
Precisely. Apple specifically warns against using these cleaners on their devices, but if someone is routinely wiping their phone down with one, well, that chemical can penetrate the oxide layer. It causes it to degrade or react with the metallic color underneath, and the orange pigmentation just shifts quite dramatically to pink in some cases.
Why?
It's a frustrating consequence,
Yeah.
right? A sophisticated manufacturing process colliding with, aggressive modern hygiene practices.
So if your phone is turning pink, you might actually be keeping it too clean. That's certainly a surprising consumer alert.
Okay. Let's move now to what feels like the most intense battleground in tech right now. The AI content wars. It feels like every tech giant is rushing to become the single gateway to your digital life. Absolutely. The race isn't just about who has the best AI model anymore. It's really about who owns the interface, the front door to the AI. That's why OpenAI just launched ChatGPT Atlas. They realize that if you want people to default to using AI, you have to meet them where they already are, which is the browser.
Okay, but is Atlas truly different from just, say, having a Chrome extension for ChatGPT? What's the real selling point?
The integration is the key difference, they claim. Atlas functions like a traditional browser. It has tabs, bookmarks, the works, but it seamlessly bakes in these powerful ChatGPT features, like instant summarization of lengthy articles, inline writing assistance that actually understands the context of the page you're on, and this more advanced agent mode.
That agent mode definitely sounds like the potential game changer. What kind of actions can it actually take?
It's designed to perform limited but complex actions on your behalf, turning browsing from just passive reading into active doing. So think about it gathering targeted research from multiple sources automatically, or booking multi-leg travel itineraries, maybe ordering groceries based on a recipe you just looked at.
Mm.
It fundamentally tries to transform the browser from just a viewing tool into more of a digital assistance workspace.
Okay, that kind of ambition requires colossal amounts of data, right? Which brings us neatly to the escalating costs and the legality of content scraping. Let's look at X, formerly Twitter. They tried to lure developers back, but their new API pricing structure seems almost designed to infuriate them instead.
Oh, it's a spectacular example of let's say, questionable pricing strategy.
Yeah.
X introduced this new pay-per-use API model, and ostensibly the idea was to offer flexibility. However, for the small to moderate-use developers who rely on the platform, the kind who use the old, relatively affordable $200 basic tier, the new structure is, well, financially punishing.
How bad is the hike, really?
Significantly bad. For a developer needing the same usage volume as that old basic tier, which was about 15,000 read posts and 50,000 published posts per month, that same activity now costs around $575.
Ouch.
Yeah. They marketed it as flexible, but effectively they nearly tripled the price for their loyal, committed small developers. It seems likely to just drive them further away. It shows a fundamental disconnect, maybe, between platform value and their revenue strategy right now.
Ouch indeed. Meanwhile, the legal drama is really reaching a boiling point with Reddit suing Perplexity. This feels like a crucial fight over who owns the knowledge generated by human interaction online.
This is potentially a landmark case. It's about the AI arms race for quality human content, as one source put it. Reddit is claiming Perplexity and its associated data scraping service providers are unlawfully circumventing data protections to pull Reddit content directly into Perplexity's answer engine.
Okay, but if the content is public on Reddit, why is this illegal circumvention? What's the argument?
It seems to come down to the technical barriers and the access methods used. Reddit claims that after they sent Perplexity a cease and desist letter, the volume of Reddit citations appearing in Perplexity's answers actually increased.
Increased. That's bold.
Right. So to try and prove indirect scraping, Reddit apparently conducted an experiment. They created a specific post that was blocked from normal scraping methods. Yet Perplexity allegedly produced the contents of that hidden post within hours.
Wow, okay. That sounds like pretty compelling evidence, if true. What does Reddit believe happened? How did they get it?
Reddit alleges that Perplexity, or maybe its partners, are using sophisticated methods, possibly scraping content indirectly from Google search results, which had indexed the Reddit post before it was perhaps blocked or modified.
Ah, the Google loophole.
Essentially, using Google as an intermediary to skirt Reddit's direct data protections. It raises this major legal question. Does the right to access public knowledge extend to bypassing technical blockades set up by the platform, especially for commercial gain? Perplexity's defense seems to be that they are an application layer company, defending the user's right to access information, and they don't train their models on this content, but the implications for content ownership are just massive.
Yeah, it really feels like the data laundering economy is getting its first major court challenge. We definitely need to watch that space closely. Okay, let's shift gears from digital conflict to physical movement in Section 3. looking at the divergence in road strategy between General Motors and Tesla.
It's an interesting contrast. GM is making these incredibly bold, long-term commitments focused on a deeply integrated future. They are promising to debut a Level 3 hands-free, eyes-off highway driving feature that's slated for the Cadillac Escalade IQ by 2028.
Level 3 is a massive regulatory and technical leap past the Level 2 systems most companies, including Tesla with Autopilot FSD Beta, used today, right?
Huge leap. Level 2 is hands-off, but eyes on the road. Level 3 is eyes off under specific conditions. It's a different category of automation.
And GM is leaning really hard on their current safety track record with Super Cruise to build consumer trust for this jump, aren't they?
Absolutely. They constantly highlight over 700 million hands-free miles driven with their Level 2 system, Super Cruise, without a single accident attributed to the technology itself. That trust is essential because they are also making some radical changes to their infotainment system. GM is integrating Google's Gemini AI deep into their cars starting next year, and they're making the really controversial decision to move away from supporting Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in their new electric vehicles.
Wow, ditching CarPlay and Android Auto. That's a huge move. Customers love those systems. They're forcing people into a fully integrated Android Automotive OS experience within the car itself.
That's the core of their strategy, owning the entire software stack top to bottom. By integrating Gemini and the Android OS deeply, they gain control over every function. Theoretically, they argue, this leads to safer, more sophisticated interactions than an abstracted mirroring system like CarPlay could ever provide. It's definitely an expensive gamble, betting that customers will prefer their integrated system, but they believe full integration is the only path to reliable Level 3 and eventually Level 4 autonomy.
Okay, so that optimistic software-first view from GM stands in pretty stark contrast to the physical reality faced by Tesla this week. They're dealing with a problem that absolutely cannot be fixed with a few lines of code sent over the air.
It's the perfect juxtaposition, isn't it? Tesla, the company that basically pioneered the software-defined vehicle, is conducting a voluntary recall. It affects over 13,000 Model 3 and Y vehicles built between March and August 2025. And the problem? It's a tiny but critical hardware failure. A battery pack contactor.
And what's the immediate risk if that contactor fails? What happens?
The defect can cause a sudden and complete loss of propulsion while the vehicle is being driven, which is, an immediate critical safety hazard.
It's not that serious.
And what really emphasizes the contrast with GM software focus is that because this is a physical defect, a hardware problem, drivers can't just wait for Tesla's famed over-the-air software fix. They have to physically bring their vehicles into a service center for the faulty contactors to be manually replaced. It's a real reminder that even the most advanced tech vehicles are still reliant on simple physical electrical components.
That reliance on simple, maybe overlooked, centralized components brings us perfectly to our final segment, infrastructure fragility.
Yeah.
You mentioned the global internet catching the flu earlier. The big AWS outage truly was the $2.5 billion internet sneeze, as some are calling it.
The numbers are just staggering. Our sources estimate the AWS outage impacted over 2,500 companies and services globally, the estimated cost. Approximately $2.5 billion in economic loss, just from one outage. It really exposed the inherent danger of hyper-centralization in our critical infrastructure.
And the root cause was so incredibly localized, wasn't it? A core networking failure in just one single availability zone, within one single AWS region, US East 1 in Northern Virginia, and that took down the domain name system, DNS. That's basically the Internet's central phone book.
Exactly. And when DNS fails in a core hub like US East 1, the domino effect is catastrophic. Because so much of the global internet structure, we're talking financial systems, communication platforms, smart home infrastructure, is designed, often implicitly, to rely on it functioning. The key takeaway here isn't just that AWS went down, but the sheer breadth of the consumer-facing impact that was caused by that single point of failure.
Yeah, give us some examples, because it really wasn't just, Reddit and Snapchat being slow for a few hours. This affected people's real lives, their homes, their money.
Absolutely. We're talking about critical personal infrastructure failing. Ring doorbells stopped working for many people. Amazon Alexa devices became useless bricks. Financial tools like Venmo and Coinbase seized up, preventing transactions. Even essential government services like, believe it or not, the UK's tax authority, HMRC, their systems collapsed because they outsourced their critical reliance to this one AWS hub.
Wow.
We are essentially paying the price for convenience built without sufficient redundancy baked in.
It really sounds like we as a society have fundamentally miscalculated the risk. The risk of having our smart home, our bank account, and even government services relying on one specific building complex in Northern Virginia staying online 247. What's the expert consensus now? What's the pushback?
The consensus seems to have shifted dramatically. It's gone from redundancy is nice to have to redundancy must be mandatory, especially for critical services. Experts are now calling for tough new regulations, particularly impacting banking, education, and government sectors. They're demanding mandatory multi-region redundancy, meaning critical applications must have live failovers running in separate geographical regions, not just different buildings in the same region. And some are pushing for even stronger rules requiring multi-cloud strategies, forcing companies to use both AWS and Azure, for example, to avoid vendor lock-in and single points of failure.
But that adds massive complexity and obviously cost to building and running these services.
It absolutely does. There's no question. But the argument is when the cost of a single failure, a single sneeze, is $2.5 billion and the impact hits essential public services and personal safety, well, the investment in that complexity starts to look essential, not optional. It really feels like a complete paradigm shift in how we need to think about digital stability going forward.
That is a huge shift in the foundational thinking of the modern web. A really important point. So, as we wrap up, what's the big question this week's events should leave you, the listener, pondering? What's the takeaway?
I think it goes right back to that tension we started with between complexity, ambition, and failure. Given that these massive infrastructure failures like the AWS outage can suddenly take down everything from your banking app to your smart home automations, we really have to ask ourselves, how much are you, the individual consumer, willing to pay, either in dollars or in accepting more complexity, to ensure the technology you rely on every single day has a mandatory, probably high-cost backup plan? We've gotten very comfortable with simple, seamless convenience, but that convenience clearly has a hidden failure cost, and that cost seems to be rapidly growing.
A fascinating problem to mull over indeed, as we watch the tech giants and regulators grapple with the real cost of reliability. Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoy this episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.